one. You are live, you are live.
Good afternoon and welcome to our sunset safari, and in particular a very warm welcome of Mrs. Ridge's class school. It's wonderful to have you on board with us this afternoon, and we're very excited to hear all of the questions and comments that you have to make. My apologies for a somewhat gory start, but we do have a wonderful afternoon planned for you ahead. My name is Jamie. I have VM on camera with me this afternoon. Brent is out with Dave on the other vehicle looking for other wonderful things to show you, but we just had to start with one of the most famous animals that is so stereotypically associated with South Africa. So we're coming to you live. What you're seeing is happening right here in the Sabi Sands, which falls under basically 4 million or close to 4 million hectares worth of unfenced wilderness area. That's bigger than some small countries. And at the moment, we're sitting with a group of males known as the Birmingham Boys and their buffalo kill. And look how pleased with himself he's looking. This gentleman has been looking exceptionally thin. His eye is quite swollen. But we've got a male lion in his pride that has taken down a female buffalo. Now, apparently, this buffalo was actually killed by a group of 5 lionesses known as the Nkuhuma Pride, and they've been kicked off the kill by the presence of these 5 young males. Now, these young males are associating with this particular pride. They are dominant in this area and they do mate with them, but nevertheless they never miss an opportunity to steal a meal without having to work for it themselves. Now, I hear that you've been chatting a lot about homeostasis within mammals, and this is a really good example, having an African male lion sitting right in front of us to chat a little bit about the way in which they work. And there's a reason that male lions are often famed to be or thought of as lazy, always stealing the female's kill, making the females do all of the work. But the reason for that is they're about 100 kilograms, so just over 200 pounds more than the females in body weight. And they have those big, thick manes around their necks. Now, as I'm sure you know, the smaller your surface area to volume ratio, so the larger the animal, the harder it is for them to lose heat. So male lions can very easily overheat, and that's one of the reasons why they only really participate in the hunts towards the end if they can get the females to do the work for them. That doesn't mean that they are not capable of hunting for themselves. They can, but their body temperature cannot go up by more than look at that, look how thin he is. Shame, boy, you've been in the wars. Their body temperature can't really go up more than 2 degrees Fahrenheit, unlike us. Look at this, I've never seen him in such bad condition. I wonder what's been happening. The rest of this group, known as the Birmingham Boys, are all looking a little bit beaten up, and I think he's been recovering from an injury. And that's why he's lost as much condition as he has. His hip bones and his spine definitely shouldn't be sticking out like that, and none of the other boys are looking as bad. Kayla is wondering what other plants and animals we might inhabit this area. And Kayla, I'm assuming you're talking in general, the enormous area that we have of wilderness. Kayla, we've got all of the members of the Big Five. We have, in other words, lions, rhino, elephant, buffalo, and leopard. We also have cheetah, one of my personal favorite, the wild dogs, and my absolute personal favorite, the spotted hyena. There's also all manner of antelope species, from impala, and we get giraffe, zebra, wildebeest, or brindled gnus, as they are known in other parts of the world. We've got a tremendous amount of biodiversity. Just look at how he's panting here. All of that digestion of the meat is producing a tremendous amount of heat within his belly. And it's very typical for a predator out here to gorge themselves as rapidly as possible in order to, because you never know when your meal might be taken from you, You want to try and eat as much of it as quickly as possible, but that full belly that they gain after feasting on a buffalo will last only about 2 days before they have worked their way through it. Oh, and he's being plagued by flies as well. You can see how they're irritating him. His left eye is also really, really swollen. Now, I mentioned that there were 5 of them, and because there are lots of people that want to come and enjoy the sighting, we can't stay with them for as long as I would like to. So what I'm going to do is give you a quick tour and show you where the rest of them are. First of all, though, I want to show you something that I've just spotted now, and that is, it wasn't just a female buffalo that they killed. Let me go forward ever so slightly. You should be able, can you see that from there, Vian? There we go. They've killed her calf as well, and there is absolutely nothing left of that baby buffalo except for the almost inedible hooves. That doesn't mean that those hooves will be wasted. At some point a hyena will come past and chomp on them and chew them. It was a very young buffalo. It must have been a brand new calf. Now, the lions have made a complete meal of that little baby. Now the rest of them, I don't want to go too far. Here is one here, just lying off underneath the trees. You can just see him poking through the leaves. As I go forward, you'll get a nice clear view. Here we go. You can see him panting away once again and flicking his ears to get rid of the flies. And then he's not looking nearly as thin as this other male, which leads me to believe that this male is, his sort of bad condition and that thinness has been caused by an injury and not just a lack of food. So these 5 boys move together. They're not necessarily brothers. Some of them are cousins as well, but they've come from the same pride, the same family when they were youngsters, which has led them to have very, very tight them and actually given them a tremendous. You can just imagine how having 5 is far better than just 2. There's another lion off here, lying down in the bushes. And just before we started with your safari, there was another gentleman lying with him. I can't see where he's gone now. I think he's moved further back into the shade. Now this lion, sitting in front of us, panting, whilst he is exceptionally thin, will be fine. I know it is hard to see an animal in this sort of condition, but he will regain condition very rapidly now that his injuries have healed up. I've been watching the way that he walks. He doesn't seem to be limping too badly. It's just that he has been in some skirmishes. He's enjoyed his meal so much that he's actually dribbling down his chin. The king of the beasts is rather smelly this afternoon. His paws covered in buffalo. And speaking from direct first-hand experience, it is not a very pleasant scent that is coming from this buffalo. It's a combination of its stomach contents plus the feces of the lion. Definitely not what I would describe as a pleasant odor, but nevertheless good for them, especially good for this guy, that he managed to get a meal. Now, I mentioned that lions overheat very, very easily, and I'll leave it up to you guys to look into the biology of that and why it is that they do overheat like that. But there is a reason behind it. One of the reasons behind it is that we as human beings have evolved alongside these magnificent animals, and we've evolved to be the dominant diurnal predator of this particular area. So during the day, we are the dominant predator. We are above them in the food chain. That is the way we've evolved. They've evolved to operate at night when it's much cooler, so that's one of the reasons why they overheat during the day. They are primarily nocturnal animals. And once night falls, that feeling that you get when you sort of want to be home at the end of the day as it starts to get dark, that's a very, very instinctive response to a fear that we would have had a couple of or tens of thousands of years ago when we lived out here with these lions. This is definitely a very special way to start off our afternoon. Unfortunately, we're only going to be able to stay here for a couple more minutes, but this gives me an opportunity to chat with some of the guides. In the meantime, let's find out how Brent's afternoon has gone, because apparently he's found the rest of the herd that this buffalo might have come from.
So, welcome to the Sunset School Safari. My name is Brent, and I have Dave on camera, and we're with a massive herd of buffalo. They're probably, from my estimation here, a good 300 or so. And this is probably very similar to the type of herd that those lions would have caught those two out. And welcome to Mrs. Rich's class. So, if you guys have any questions about buffalo, very interesting animals. So probably the closest thing we have to a cow out here. And they live in massive herds. Now, in terms of the ecosystem, they're very, very important. Now, can you imagine? It's a large landscaping service. Not only do they mow the grass, they keep it nice and short. They also fertilize it as they go on. And their hoof action also turns over the soil, enabling a nice place for seeds to take hold. Oh, sorry guys, I'm just causing a traffic jam, so I'm just going to loop around to where the buffalo are going to pop out. A lot of the buffalo there, this big windy weather is causing them to split a little bit. So Paul is wondering where exactly in South Africa is the Kruger National Park. As you can see, here we go, we're catching up with the main body of the herd now. We're just with the stragglers earlier. So, Paul, we are in the eastern part of South Africa, in the province, or what you would call a state, called Mpumalanga, which means where the sun rises, which is a very good name, in my opinion, for the eastern part. So we're just going to try loop up ahead of the buffalo and then just stop and let them walk onto us. Hello, silly cows. And Paul was also wondering what surrounds the Kruger National Park. On the western side, it's surrounded by local communities. On the northern side, it's the international border between the country of Zimbabwe and South Africa. And then on the eastern side, the whole eastern boundary of the Kruger National Park is made up of the country of Mozambique. The Kruger Park itself, including areas like the Sabi Sands, which we're in now, is about 2.7 million hectares. And I will work out the exact acreage for you shortly, but it's roughly around 8 or 9 million acres, if my memory serves correctly. And it is part of what is called the Greater Limpopo Transfrontier Park, which is 3.9 million hectares. So there are transfrontier parks that join Zimbabwe and South Africa. So incredibly massive area, all set aside for the protection of wild animals. I'm just trying to see. So Jewel is wondering, are there giraffe in this area? Jewel, there most certainly are. Hopefully we will find one. I'm just going to wait here. The buffalo are slowly moving towards us. They are in some round leaf teak thickets at the moment. Can you see any nicely, Dave? They're all quite far in there. Got a couple. Dave's got a couple. And Jewel would also like to know, how tall does a giraffe get? Jewel, a giraffe gets to about, a big male can reach about 4 meters. So there we go. Now, there's quite a lot of wind around at the moment, and buffalo really don't like wind too much, because what happens is their sense of smell and hearing is compromised a little bit. So they are unable to hear and smell as well as they would like. There we go. Jewel, for you, 4 meters for a giraffe is 13.12 feet. So incredibly tall animal. And look at the buffalo, look at them, they're coming a bit closer through here. So, guys, we're going to stay with these buffalo. Hopefully they'll pop out onto the road. While we wait for that, Jamie's going to have to say goodbye to the lions, so why don't you join her for that?
We are going to have to leave these lions. Unfortunately, there are other vehicles that need to make their way in with their guests that want to enjoy the full safari experience. So for now, a nice, really nice starting to our afternoon. Some very full lions. Nice to see that this boy has got some food in him as well. And hopefully that will set him on the way to healing up. Others all resting off in different parts of the shade underneath the trees. So just one last brief look before we move out. Okay, we're going to head out and find you other wonderful things. In the meantime, while I make my way out of the bush, we'll head back over to Brent.
So we are back with the buffalo. They haven't quite got to us yet, but I have managed to find out exactly how big the wilderness area we're part of is, and obviously it's made up of different areas. It is 9,637,070 there we go. Sorry, 9.64 million acres is the close, just round it up, make it a bit easier. So, incredibly massive area. As you can see, the buffalo slowly moving closer to us. Now, a big buffalo bull will weigh around 700 kilograms, and so quite a bit bigger than your average cow. There are certain cow species that can get bigger than that now, so about 1,500 pounds, but most of them, let's try a little bit forward, will be around 1,200, 1,300 pounds, maybe even a little bit smaller for the females. Let's see if we pop our nose in there, if we can get a better view. So as I was saying, buffalo are one of your, what we call keystone species in an ecosystem. So if you remove your keystone species, there's quite a quick and visible effect on the surroundings. So buffalo, as I said, are very important. They, like the elephants, are also very important. They are landscapers. Look at this, just buffalo everywhere. So as you can see, they'll come through an area like this, keeping the grass short, and that's very, very important. And a lot of animals, specifically your other grazing animals like wildebeest and zebra, like short grass. They don't like long grass. Wildebeest in particular is a very finicky feeder, whereas buffalo are not. They are bulk grazers. So they keep the grass short, which keeps the other animals' numbers up as well. And of course, as I was saying, the hoof action, just tilling the soil, basically like, imagine if you were going to prepare a seed bed for planting, and you took your hoe and you dug it in and planted your seeds, and you turned over the soil to give those seeds a good chance at germinating. That's what buffalo do out here in the bush. So Lauren's wondering, do we ever get a chance to touch any of the animals out here? Lauren, generally if you touch any of the animals out here, you end off very much second best. These are wild animals. We don't generally touch any of them if we can help it. The only time we tend to touch anything is probably when I have to remove a snake from our house. That happens relatively often. But that's about the only time we will touch animals. Now, as nice as it sounds to be able to touch an African animal, and there's a lot of places that let you hold lion cubs and stuff like that, those are very, very bad places, and often those animals are treated very badly. So if you really, really love animals, let them stay in the wild. I haven't managed to spot any little ones yet, but we'll keep looking. So Nick would like to know what biome we're in at the moment. So he's asking, is it a grassland? Is it savanna? Is it desert? Well, in the general, there's a little baby, well spotted, Dave. In general, it would be called a savanna, but this, if we get a little bit more specific, but since you're a biology class, that's exactly what we're going to do. This is what you would call broad-leaved woodland. Broad-leaved woodland, mostly made up of bush willow and combretum species. There we go. Now, baby buffalo have a very unique feature that a lot of other animals don't have. It's one of the few animals that can feed on the move, a baby buffalo. So while the buffalo herd is moving, and they do move big distances, specifically big herds like this, so obviously if they stayed in one place, they would finish all the grass. So what they do is they slowly move between water and grazing and are constantly on a big sort of loop through different areas. Now, a baby buffalo is able to suckle by standing between mom's two back legs. So as they're walking wherever they might be going, that baby buffalo is able to suckle. Unfortunately for the baby buffalo, it does put it in the firing line, so to speak. So it's not uncommon to see baby buffalo with mom's pat on their head. And now the herd is actually slowly going to surround us. So I'm going to get Dave to start over here. So this actually might be a bit more than 300. So I think this is a slightly bigger herd than we last saw. So we're going to start there, and we're going to pan across. Now just keep looking everywhere. There's the buffalo, and you can see them there. Isn't this absolutely amazing, guys? There we go. Keep going, and all the way around us, you can see the buffalo, and they're even behind the other vehicles. So there's even buffalo behind us. Now, if we sit here for long enough, we're probably going to be engulfed by these buffalo. Now, one last quick interesting fact for you guys. Let's go straight onto this guy there, onto his horns. There. Now you can, no, a little one lower, the one with his head down. There we go. Now you can see it looks like that buffalo's been rubbing his horns on something. And of course, being an animal out here, they get pestered by flies and ticks. And they don't have hands and fingers like we do to scratch. They often use trees. But in this particular case, they will rub his horns against a tree called the timberti tree, which is highly noxious. It's got a poisonous milky latex, and that works as a natural insect repellent to keep the flies away, and also helps with the ticks and other arachnid parasites like mites. And you can see there's a female. She doesn't have that very big, well-developed boss. So, guys, it's been great having you. Mrs. Ridge's biology class. I hope we'll have you on safari with us again soon. But for now, I hope you guys enjoy. And if you get a free moment, come watch Safari Live in your free time. So welcome back to everyone else, and isn't it amazing that we're able to impart a joy and wonder for nature here on the live drives and showing and bringing the safaris to schools in the US at the moment. It does give us a happy, warm feeling to be breeding the next generation of conservationists. So unfortunately, you're just going to hear a bit of beeping. Dave is going to put on the virtual reality rig while these buffalo engulf us. So we'll be with you in a second. I'm just waiting for Dave. There we go. Okay, we're not going to clap now. We'll clap at the end because we are surrounded by buffalo. So as you can see, as I said, I thought there were about 300. I think there might be closer to 500, which is a very big herd for the Sabi Sands. And they are spread out for probably about 500 meters around us, all the way down to where we came from, near Buffelshoek Dam. And this is absolutely amazing. Buffalo to the left of us, buffalo to the right. And you can see they're on the move already, and they have to keep moving, and they're just taking advantage of this green flush of grass. And it's amazing how quickly these animals have picked up condition. After looking very, very skinny and not so healthy, these buffalo have picked up condition very, very quickly. Oh, Something spooked those ones over there, a little bit of a stampede. I think someone got a horn in the bottom. Look at them go. Now, we might see some serious herd mentality here, where one runs, all run. Listen to that. I'm just going to keep quiet. Now, when you actually hear them being chased by lions, it is literally deafening. It's a roar as they stampede through the bush. Barbara on Twitter says we haven't been seeing buffalo for quite a while, but now we're making up for it. So they just came for a quick visit, and we can see a lot of bottoms heading to the east across our edge of our traverse. There's a nice little baby there. A very old female who's had that baby. You can see by the gnarled horns. There you go. Hello, little guy. And look at that swarm of flies around them. Oh, there's a very pregnant cow in front of us, Dev. There we go. And look at her. She looks like she's about to pop. Now, buffalo is one of the animals I actually have seen give birth on quite a few occasions, probably 15 or 16 times even. We used to spend a lot of time with big buffalo herds when I was younger in Botswana, and the biggest herd in living memory, or since they actually started recording those type of things, I was lucky enough to see. And it was just under 5,000 individuals. So when we reported this herd, the Botswana government was so fascinated, they put up an aeroplane that took aerial photographs of those, here we go, hello buffs, of that herd, and then some poor student had to literally go through the aerial photographs and count every single individual dot. But it was just under 5,000. Oh, tiny baby, couple of days old, still looking a bit wobbly. Barbara was saying we hadn't seen many buffalo, but we sure are making up for it. So Barbara, with these big herds, they're constantly on the move, and that is in search of grazing and water, but it's very good that they are on the move. So as I said, mobile fertilizer systems, they also turn up the grass nicely, and I think they are slowly departing. Cindy in Florida is wondering, can a buffalo ever have twins? I'm sure it is possible, just very, very unusual. Cindy, you don't find twins happening too often in a lot of wild animals. Of course, it's double the amount of pressure on the mother in what she's got to rear. And look, you can see even see the bolus on that female. Oh no, she swallowed it. But she was chewing a cud there, and you could, there we go, have a look there. You can see the bolus she's brought up from one of her 4 stomachs. So obviously being a ruminant, it's not really 4 different stomachs, it's 4 chambers of the same stomach system. But it enables these grazing species to get the best out of what they eat and leave very little nutrients at the back. Well, I think the last of the herds crossing here, I think the rest of them actually crossed behind us. And all of a sudden there's this massive gale that's blowing. It is also very humid, and I'm wondering if we're in for a storm this evening. There we go. Diane is wondering, are the Nkuhuma Pride still around, possibly trying to hunt some of these buffalo? Well, Diane, the Nkuhumas were successful in hunting buffalo. And look at them dash off there. That's the last of them. Oh, there's a straggler on the right. Whoop, there we go, an older cow. Oh, she's got a bit of a limp. Back left ankle looks broken. And that would explain why she is the straggler. But Diane, the Nkuhumas were successful. As far as I know, you might have jumped on drive a little bit late today, but the reports, and I'm pretty sure quite accurate, that all 5 Nkuhumas and there were 5 Birminghams on that buffalo kill Jamie was at earlier. So they're happy. They killed a buffalo cow and a calf. So I don't think we're going to be seeing the Nkuhumas after this particular herd. So bye-bye buffalo as they move off into Torchwood. I am going to continue the never-ending search for Queen Karula. So last tracks I had were in this area here. So we're going to head back down there. So Orion in the Netherlands is wondering where can he find all these VR recordings. I think the place to look is on the Safari Live YouTube channel. And I think not all of them are up yet. They're still in post-production, but hopefully you'll be able to find them there. I think there is definitely one of Jamie up so far. So go have a look on the Safari Live YouTube channel. I just have to let the other guys know where those buffalo have headed. Leaving that large herd of buffalo slowly mobile east on the fire break between Buffelshoek Hook and Gowrie cut line. Okay, let's go see what we can find. So very interesting about Tingana, who we were tracking this morning, that big male leopard. He was chasing. Sorry, just listening here.
He's continued to fumble down the drainage in a bit of an easterly direction.
Interesting, very interesting.
South. I haven't really seen him on the way.
So Tingana is not where they left him this morning. He seemed to be heading back east, maybe going in search of that other male leopard that he chased. Unfortunately, they had such a brief view of that male leopard that they were unable to get an ID on it. The wild dogs were left lying up in the same place they were found this morning, so fingers crossed they decide to come visit us again this sunset safari. So a big Safari Live welcome to Verona in Johannesburg. Verona would like to know, how often do we see buffalo on our live safaris? Well, Verona, we see buffalo bulls probably every safari, but these big herds of buffalo like we've just encountered, we'll probably see, if we're lucky, once a week during the dry season, and now, while it's lovely and green, probably once every 2 or so weeks. But they are around, and you never know when they might pop up again. So while we continue to search for the elusive leopard, let's go to Jamie, who's got a bird of prey.
Look at this. We have a bird of prey currently investigating a termite mound. And this is something we've been seeing relatively often in terms of, since the rain, the termite mound population explosions, the reproductive termites. This particular individual is taking full advantage of whatever the termite mound has to offer. A dark eye, and very, very dark in color. Actually, initially, immediately thought it was a Wahlberg's eagle, one of the dark morphs of Wahlberg's eagles. But I'm changing my mind on that. I just want to check something quickly in my book. It's a little bit big. We're quite far away from it, but it looks a little bit too big to be a Wahlberg's eagle. Got a very dark eye and a gape that extends all the way back behind the eye, which immediately made me think of steppe eagle. We just haven't seen that many of them. There's not enough. No, could well be. I think it is actually a steppe eagle. It's the right shape, it's got the right posture. It's just that little bit too far away to get a sense of scale. And there's That is absolutely awesome to see. There's also one sitting up in a dead tree just off to my right, which I'll show you now. The clouds building up in the skies behind. This is not an eagle, this is one of the snake eagles. In fact, it looks like it might be a brown snake eagle just from this position. There's a very definite rain feeling in the air. So these birds of prey might have more luck on the termite front. Just look at that sky. There's a very ominous feel to it. And I think I was wrong. I think that we may actually have some more rain before we go into our dry season. I honestly thought that we were done with rain for this particular year, but that doesn't seem to be the case at all. I know that lots of you are keen to see the Arethusa Dam and to just get a bit of a perspective. I'm also, since I'm here, I would very much like to just investigate and see how much water is in it. I haven't been since the start of the rain. It'd be interesting to go and investigate. I'm sure that lots of you had several questions about that Birmingham boy sighting that we have. Now, Hubby Cub, you wanted an update on the dam, you wanted an update on WildEarth's dam, but we're on our way to the Arethusa Dam instead, but I'm sure that at some point one of us will drive past the WildEarth Dam during our drive. So Hush Cub, we'll keep an eye out for you. I just wanted to correct something that was said earlier. I was given the message that the Nkuhumas had killed that buffalo. I've just spoken to some of the guides here, and they said that they haven't seen the Nkuhumas at all. So perhaps I was right about them being somewhere on Djuma in the Mulwati drainage line. Their tracks were heading in that direction this morning, and I haven't seen any tracks. That's why I was very confused when I was first given that message, because I haven't seen any tracks of females crossing towards Arethusa. We started off our morning with the three Birmingham boys wandering south along that division between Djuma and Arethusa. It was a spectacular sighting. They're all looking distinctly beaten up though. One of them, as you saw, is exceptionally thin, the thinnest I've ever seen him. And the rest of them covered in a variety of scratches and scars. Brent thinks that there's a possibility they might have had a run-in with the Salati males, or at least that was what all of the noise was about early this morning. Something that we'll just never know whether or not that is the case. And Steph, who actually asked us, is there a possibility that the Birmingham males had a fight with the Majingilan males? It is, but it's fairly unlikely, Steph. The reason I say that is because, as you know, the... Oopsie daisy. That's very broken. Gremlins. Liam says it's the gremlins. Wood gremlins, unlike our technological and mechanical ones. Wood gremlins, quite possibly also known as termites. It would be another name for wood gremlins, I suppose. That sounds about right. So the reason I said that it might not be the Majingilans is because although they came all the way towards Simbabili, which is very close to our property, they then turned around and went straight back southwest to their usual area. So whilst it is entirely possible, it's probably more likely to have been the Salati males. Here we go. So this is an update on the Arethusa Dam. This is what the Arethusa Dam is looking like from above. this is a lovely spot to come and sit and watch the birds. I'm trying to see if I can find any. Also, I haven't seen any hippos. Did you see any hippos, Liam? I don't think I see any hippos. It's unusual for Arethusa, unless, is that a hippo there? Just get my binoculars out for a second. So Darlene, you were wondering, I mentioned that this is a nice spot to come and look at birds. That's definitely not hippos. Actually looks like a pile of plant material. Darlene, you were wondering if you could tell individual bird species whilst tracking, or whether or not you are limited to basically perching versus or passerines versus ground birds. And Darlene, you can. Now, it's something that Rennie has tested us on. Some of them are more difficult than others, but you can tell the difference between doves and starlings. Little passerines, so little perching birds like, for example, robins and larks and cisticulars, any birds like that, it is far more difficult to tell, nigh on impossible, to tell the difference between the different species. But as for the rest of them, most of our distinctive birds leave distinctive tracks that are as different from each other when you get down to the nitty-gritty details as leopard and lion and hyena tracks are to each other. It's just a matter of where you put your focus. Darlene, what I'll try and do is we'll try and find a nice muddy pan that we can look at the tracks on and investigate the different bird species. That would be interesting to do, and there's different ways in which the birds walk. For example, the lapwings with their 3 toes and a missing back toe. But I'm not going to go into too much detail now. I'm going to see if I can find you a nice example. While I do, Brent has found our largest animal on the reserve.
So we've come across some elephants, and as the regulars will know, we spend quite a lot of time very close to elephants. But as we drove up to these elephants, they're probably about 40, 50 meters away from us now. The female immediately displayed signs of discomfort. Her tail went rigid, so we're not going to attempt to go any closer to them. I'm hoping that they will move out into the open a little bit. Now, this strong gusting wind we're experiencing could have something to do with it. I'm just going to move a bit forward. We might be able to see the other one. So one must remember that even the same herd of elephants that could be 100% relaxed this morning might have had a run-in with a musk bull or something that will cause them to be not so comfortable in the evening. But here, there's the rest of a section of the herd, a different section of the herd, and we're just going to stay a little bit further away. Look, you can see already. You see that tail upright and erect. This is a young one, so we don't take too much notice of them, but it was a nice little show of body language there. So an elephant's tail, for me, is one of the most important things to watch, to not get yourself into any trouble. Now, as soon as the tail becomes rigid and starts standing up, it is a sign that they are not happy with you or not even happy with your presence. Young one like this, it could just be a bit of bravado. So as you can see, the tail's gone down now as soon as we stop the car. So we've stopped a little bit further away from what we normally would, and I just want to see if the rest of the herd is also feeling as slightly put out as the original female we saw who's disappeared into the bush. I'm hoping not, and we'll see. If they decide to give us a wide berth, we'll do the same. No need to force the issue. It is always awesome to spend time with these animals.
Hi.
Deborah, the armchair traveler, says she can't believe how beautiful and green it is. It's lovely. It's hard to think, not even a few weeks ago, Deborah, we could barely see anything in terms of greenery. The ground was bare and barren. So I'm just watching. See, she doesn't seem to be taking too much notice of us. But still, with this strong wind blowing around, I'm going to hang back for a little bit longer before I make my call whether we can approach these guys a little bit closer. Oh, I forgot to tell all the other game drives there's some elephants around. Wondering, what is my opinion on zoos? What is the difference between an area like this and a zoo in terms of protecting animals? Susie, to be 100% honest, I'm not a huge fan of zoos. I believe in most cases there are better options. I understand the educational value and with certain endangered species, the possible benefits of a zoo. But if you look at the animals in the zoo, they're just not the same as the ones out here. Specifically the big cats, they just pace. They're very, very bored, and also the large primates. But if you look at the animals in the zoo, they're just not the same as the ones out here. Specifically the big cats, they just pace. They're very, very bored, and also the large primates. Even the elephants, you can just see there's just a far better quality of life out in a place like this. Even though they get sick, they die, people don't help them, I just think the animals lead a much better life than they would in a captive environment. So, now, as I say, if you really like wild animals, let them remain wild. And the same goes for pet birds and all those things. Now, behind having a pet bird, there's a massive illegal bird trade that started the initial pet trade in birds and inbreeding and all sorts of stuff. So, and I never like to see a bird in a cage. I like to see them out in the wild. And the same goes for these guys, particularly when they're going to get a little bit naughty like this. I love the different characters elephants have. So we can definitely see the different individual characters and elephants in the herds we see a lot. But it is quite nice and easy to spot someone who might give us a little bit of fun, like this one. Might give us a little head shake as she gets close. Or he gets close, sorry. There we go, on cue. You're a clever boy. Oh, I can hear them calling, talking to each other in that low rumble. Look at this big female coming. Oh. Now, she's a little bit not relaxed, and it's very difficult to explain how I can see that to you, because there's no real obvious signs, like the obvious signs I've talked about. Just suddenly saw a little bit of a stiffness in her neck, and we're just going to keep very, very still, Dave, when she comes past. Everything should be 100%. It's very, very still, no quick movements on the camera. There we go. Wasn't that amazing? So quite often, because I stopped a little bit further away, even though the herd was initially unrelaxed, and we've parked and let them come to us, not the other way around. And also, we're not moving around quickly, we're not making a lot of noise. And so even though I could just sense a little bit of stiffness in her neck and in her legs, that she wasn't 100% comfortable, but she still passed. Unlike this, you can just see, this has got not a worry in the world. Don't get naughty. Don't smell my tires. Don't. Yes, stop it. Now that was just curiosity, and you can see, I don't know if you guys could pick up the difference in the body language between those two different elephants. The little ones like this, they're just full of the joy of life and quite curious. Wasn't that special? I really love spending time with elephants. And it's amazing. I've spent probably thousands of hours with elephants in my life, and I never get tired of it. And it's so interesting. I can learn something new about body language and movement just by watching them constantly. Now, I'm not going to follow the herd, even though that they are going down the road. There is this strong wind around. They're not 100% relaxed. So there's no need to push our luck. We had an absolutely incredible experience. That elephant, or the little elephant last, if I'd wanted to, I probably could have leant out and touched it. Of course, I'm not going to, but that was magic. And we're going to move on and see if we can find any tracks of the Queen of Djuma or any other fascinating creature that's out here. Oh, you guys are going to get me into trouble today. We're talking about controversial things. Paula, Alexandra, and Olivia would know my domesticate them. Now, even though Indian elephants have been domesticated, you still get those videos of them going on the rampage and killing people in cities and stuff like that. And unfortunately, the one way to make an animal that big, completely submissive of you, I personally am not a huge, not even a fan at all. There's no fan involved in elephant-back safaris, lion cub petting, lion walking, any of that type of stuff. Now, those are of course, very different from zoos, and zoos in some cases do have a very important scientific and educational value, whether those are for neither, those are for profit. It looks like those storms might have blown off, so we might make it through without getting wet. So Sabrina, who's 12, says she's been volunteering at a zoo on her weekends. And they say they're helping a giraffe mom and baby by keeping the dad away. Will giraffe do this in the wild? Well, Sabrina, not really. Again, you're looking at an unusual circumstance there. Normally, a male giraffe in the wild would probably get bored of trying to harass the female. But of course, they're in an enclosed environment, so he's got nowhere else to go. They've got nowhere else to go. So in those circumstances, it would be best for that, in that situation, to separate them. But in the wild, he'd have lots of other lady giraffes to go court, so he wouldn't probably take too much attention to a youngster. I have seen giraffe females sort of ward off the males from babies, but not that often, and normally there's enough other distractions around to keep the male away from harassing the baby and the new mum. What did I do with my skogo? Here we go. So, those of you wondering what a skogo is, that is the Zulu name for a hat or a cap. It's skogo. Who can say that? If you can say isiskogo, put it on a video, pop it on Facebook or YouTube. Let's have a look. If you can say isiskogo. 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 Well done, Dave. So the birds seem to be quite quiet, and there is a very obvious reason for that. This gusting wind, quite a lot of the bird species are going to be hunkering down, so maybe we'll get some joy with some birds down in the Mwati River. So, cat in Florida. says she understands what I'm saying about zoos, but she says the animals are dying in the wild from poaching. So what do we do when we lose them? Well, Kat, this is a very, very controversial topic. And there's lots of different things. And of course, there are, in certain cases, there is a need for human intervention and protecting certain species. But if we can avoid keeping them in captivity, I really think we should. And then there's a very big difference between a zoo and a sort of secure zone. So I know for a fact inside certain reserves, at the heart of the reserve, for rhinos in this particular case, they've fenced off a separate area. It's still not a zoo, it's still much bigger. That area will probably still be twice the size or 3 times the size of your whole average zoo. So there are other ways and means, but I do understand there is a need for education and for conserving of certain species, and also for research. So it's far less invasive to do blood work and genetic research and stuff on a zoo animal that is very used to human contact than it is on a wild animal which has to be put to sleep and stuff. So I'm just saying I do understand days, weeks, months, and years. But it is a very interesting thing to touch on every now and then. Okay, so guys, this is the last question we're doing on this topic, and then we're going to move on to other stuff. So Safari Dean is wondering about Kevin Richardson, who has a whole bunch of lions in captivity. Now, those are a very different story, and I've actually worked quite a bit with Kevin. So when Kevin initially got involved in that industry with the lion taming and wrangling and petting, etc., he was a little bit naive and stuff, and it didn't take him too long to figure out what was going on. So Kevin's lions that he has got now have been taken away from an environment where they probably would have gone into canned lion hunting. Or sterile, they cannot. He is not trying to those lions from old age. It's done. He's not going to try and collect any more lions. There's a gremlin in the... So, as I say, Kevin started off where he's ended more as emblems and for the anti-lion, canned lion hunting, for lion conservation in general. But he's not trying to breed more. He's not trying to get more cubs all the time. So it's a very different situation. As I said, and Kevin, I've had long chats with him about this, obviously. And when those lions are dead, they're dead. He's not getting any more. And so that is a big major difference to places that are constantly breeding lions or getting more animals. So a very different thing. And as again I said, we can discuss things till the end of the year and beyond for the next 10 years. There will always be these controversial issues. But let's move off those and have a look at some buffalo wallowing in a mud wallow quickly. So now these boys are the old gentlemen. So we saw that wonderful big breeding herd at the beginning of the safari. Now these are the guys who can't cut it anymore. The competitive mating inside those big breeding herds. So they choose to spend their days wallowing, chewing the cud, and looking at me like I owe him money. Now, there's an old saying about buffalo bulls. They always do seem to look at you like you owe them money. The debt collector. So Marianne in Arkansas is being very, very observant. There's some oxpeckers there, because that's what Marianne's chatting about. She said there was a lack of oxpeckers on those buffalo earlier. Oh, that's a juvenile. Oh, where'd he go? To the next buffalo. Marianne, they were there, but they were flying up overhead while they were moving. So quite often the oxpeckers really like these old boys because they're very stationary. Whether it's on those big herds, when they're up and moving, the oxpeckers will be there, but it's much harder for them to feed easily while they're constantly moving through the bush. But there were some oxpeckers, but definitely not nearly the amount we often see on these old boys. There you go, oxpecker to the right. Oh no, and the bull's trying to shake him off. And they can become quite irritating. There he is, on his nose. Oh, and looking for those ticks around the eyes and ears. Now, interestingly enough, this is a red-billed oxpecker. Oxpeckers can eat buffalo earwax. How strange is that? So they have an enzyme in their stomach that enables them to digest earwax of the larger animals that they feed off. And I've always wondered why. And I think it's probably got to do something with some sort of buffaloes. Still watching us. They like to live a life of leisure, and one of the reasons why they stay in groups of bulls, there's actually some more spread off down the road, which we can't see now, and they stay in little groups like this. Basically, it's much easier to defend against lions if there's a few of you, and also as you get older, these guys are probably between 12 and 15 against the lions. And you can see very, very old, losing quite a lot of his skin around his eyes. Isn't that wonderful? They're very happy that we've now had a bit of rain. They don't have to share with Pete the pond hippo and have elephants interrupting their slumbers. There's enough water around for everyone now. So we're going to leave these buffalo and head back towards the area around Djuma, where there were some impala alarm calls apparently during the day. So who knows what could have caused those impala to have a panic. And while we do that, let's go see what Jamie has been up to.
Jamie's on her way towards Treehouse Dam, thinking just in general about checking out the various waterholes, also wondering whether or not we'll be lucky enough to bump into the Nkuhumas, since their tracks don't seem to go out of Djuma. Also just thinking about the question we got on bird tracks from Darlene. And I thought maybe somewhere around the mud here would be a good place to have a look. But first I want to just show you that very large hinged terrapin that is sitting on the bank. I don't want to go any closer because I think he's going to take a dive as soon as we do. Peacefully surveying the dam. That is a big terrapin for the size of our general size of terrapins that we get out here. He's probably, I'd love to know exactly how old he is. Over 10, probably over 20 years old. They grow a bit faster than tortoises do. Lots of movement. What is there?
A monitor.
The monitor lizard. Well spotted, VM. Awesome. Having a swim. There was a brief moment where I thought crocodile, which is not impossible, but it was unlikely. Let's go forward a bit. We'll get to see him. Hopefully we'll get to see him actually come out of the water and onto the bank. Well spotted, VM. Very well done. VM's got a monitor spotting talent, actually. Where is he? Oh, there he is. I think he's about to... Is he about to alight upon the bank?
I've lost the way now.
He is where the green grass is on the edge of the water. Yeah, the one on the left. To the left there. There's his head. Perfect. Thank you. This is probably a water monitor lizard rather than a rock monitor. Now, that might seem really self-explanatory when you're looking at it swimming in the water, but both species are very, very at ease swimming. Although the water monitor does spend a bit more time around water, it could be either of them. In this case, though, just even from a distance, not quite as brightly colored as a rock monitor. In South Africa, we call them legavans. From the Afrikaans, legavan. Oh, there he goes. There he's going to come out. Awesome. He's a big guy. Tongue flickering. Pulling that scent in. Is he going to go back in? Definitely a water monitor. I will show you the difference in my book in a moment once we've lost him. Very prehistoric. Looking for potential prey, little fish maybe. Possibly frogs as well would definitely fall on his menu or her menu. Very difficult to tell the sex of a monitor lizard. It could also be cooling off a little bit as well on this hot day. Indecisive. Scouring. Oh, got something. What did he get? He got something. What is that? That could well be a frog. Let me try and double check with my binoculars. Could be a frog. Could also be. Oh, I've lost him now. There he is. Could have been a frog. Might even have been a mussel of some kind or a freshwater crab. Looks like a frog to me. That's exciting. Just as we were talking about what he might be searching for, he found something. I'm fairly certain it's a... Oh, he dropped it. You got it again. I'm fairly certain it's a frog looking through my binoculars. Looks like a frog. Oh. I think about repositioning and getting closer, but unfortunately I think all that will do is scare him off. We're right, and we could go around to the other side of the bank, but I don't think that's going to do us any favors. He'll just duck back into the water and hide away from us, and I also don't want to distract him from his afternoon snack, which he seems to be finishing off. In fact, I think he might even have finished it already. I definitely thought I saw a frog leg through my binoculars. Perusing the edges of a pan, a perfect place to come and hunt. They are so prehistoric looking in the way that they move. Now, those tails are exceptionally powerful, which is one of the things that gives them that very easy swimming ability, very natural way of moving through the water. He's found sniffing around for something else. They've also got slight webbing around their toes, very, very slight. But that tail, having been whipped before by a monitor lizard that I was trying to catch and remove from a house, I can speak from experience, it is much stronger than it looks. They're also capable of inflicting quite serious bites. You can see the fishes splashing in front of him. Sorry, I was just listening to the Game Drive channel there. Now, Donna, I said that terrapin was particularly large, and you were wondering just how big it really was. To give you a sort of a sense of scale, I'm trying to think of a nice comparison for you, Donna. About the size of half a coconut, a large, I don't mean a coconut like we get them when we eat them, I mean an actual coconut with the skin and everything. About half the size of that. That's such an absurd comparison. I don't know why I can't now think of anything that would be useful. Donna, I'll show you with my hands to scale in a moment, but I don't want to tear my eyes away from this monitor lizard. Half the size of a soccer ball. If you cut a soccer ball in half, that was the size of the terrapin. Let's go with that, Donna. That's probably the best comparison I can give you. I just want to see if this monitor lizard manages to catch anything else. Very clearly on a hunting mission. Investigating all the crevices and likely spots where he might find another frog or a fish or something similar. Not sure how, but Brent has somehow acquired my reptile book. I don't think it's his fault, though. I think I left it when I swapped cars. But that does mean, unfortunately, that I can't show you the difference between rock monitors and water monitors. I think we can definitely ask Brent to do that for you at some stage in his drive, since he might have it with him. But essentially, a rock monitor has much more vivid and colorful markings than this water monitor does. Fascinating animals. You can see the ear openings as he moves through the water. Those, of course, capable of closing, opening and closing, depending on whether or not his head is submerged. He's coming slowly closer to us, and I think that's what's giving him a slightly nervous look. It's amazing. If I didn't know that he was there, if I was not looking through the camera, or looking at my monitor of this view through the camera, I would never know that he was there. It's just his head poking out, keeping a watchful eye on us. That's awesome. Cat in Florida. My binoculars are slightly better than James's. They have taken a beating over the years. They're a bit dirty. They were a gift from my dad when I first went into this guiding profession. So over time, they have collected a considerable amount of dirt, but they are an essential tool out here in order to guide properly, not just to look at the different bird species, but animals. It gives you a nice closer perspective if you want to look at injuries on animals, for example. Now, what I'm doing now, since our monitor lizard is not keen on getting any closer with us in the vicinity, is I'm looking for a nice bird track in the mud. You got some there. Is that a good position? Or should I go back a bit? Perfect. There we go. How's that? That for somebody who asked, Arlene, who asked about bird tracks, that is a lapwing track. You'll note that there's only 3 toes in front, and in fact, let me get off the vehicle so that I can demonstrate exactly what I mean. Oh, goodness, there's a storm brewing. There is definitely a storm on its way. I will just go and have a quick look. Oh, you can hear how the wind is howling. The storm's coming. So Liam managed to spot these little tracks in the mud. Quite relatively thick toes. And you'll see that there's no back toe. Now, all of the birds that walk constantly on the ground don't have a back toe. So the lapwings, the dickorps, anything like that would normally, their toe actually sits a little bit higher. So francolins are the same, and guinea fowl are the same. Now, just judging by the size and the shape of this track and the way that the toes are positioned and the length of the distance between this track, it's a bit smelly, this mud, and this track, you can see that whatever bird made it had relatively long legs to have such a long stride in the mud. There we go. Oh well, not going to do me any harm. It's just a little bit mucky. And just while I'm here, I also want to stop and have a look at this algae that is in one of the puddles. It's one of the more, it's an unusual sight. It's not completely unusual, but it's not one that we see very often. Wow. The storm is very rapidly blowing in. I wonder if we're not going to get some rain sooner than expected. There's a dip to the temperature. But this is the algae I wanted to show you. We get very used to seeing green algae. Unfortunately, the light has changed. Oops, sorry, roll backwards a bit. The light has changed, so you can't quite see just how blood red this water is, and it's due to the red algae that is inhabiting it. Now, most plants are green because chlorophyll, the molecule that is responsible for photosynthesis, or the pigment that is responsible for photosynthesis, is green in color. There is, however, another molecule, and for the life of me I cannot remember its name, but it is red. And it is more capable of absorbing red light, or the light rays that are red in the spectrum, so the longer light rays. And that's what this algae is utilizing in this particular puddle. It's such a fascinating creature. Algae evolved, algae evolved, was it 3 billion years ago, in theory? And it actually was what gave shape to, there we go, we've actually got the color coming through relatively nice. Let me go back a little bit so that we get the tree shading it. There, you can see. It looks like blood in this puddle. And algae actually changed the atmosphere. The arrival of algae changed the atmosphere in our world. Before, it had very, very much higher concentrations of carbon dioxide and slightly lower concentration of oxygen than it does now. And slowly, slowly, through the gradual photosynthesis respiration process that algae goes through, it was able to gently shift the atmospheric conditions and the different percentage of the gases within the atmosphere to the point that it became possible for other forms of life to survive. And it has continued unchanged for billions of years. One of those fascinating little overarching views of the way in which life works out here. That was just one of the examples. That's a pleasure, James Richards. I always enjoy a good reptile sighting as well. I'm also hoping for a crocodile sighting one of these days. And actually, if I get to a good spot on this dam wall, he's chosen the exact point at which the dam has collapsed slightly. How's your view from there, Vian? He's still there, watching us intently. Definitely, I'm always hoping for a sighting, James, of the crocs basking in the sun. And it's always a possibility. An interesting point from Debbie. This particular reptile has a forked tongue, as do most snakes. Debbie was wondering, how does a forked, as opposed to a sort of a single tongue, help in terms of smelling? Debbie, that is a really interesting question. So the reason we have two ears, apart from the fact that we're very bilateral symmetrically, and two eyes, is it gives us a perception of depth. So the way that we see with our vision allows us, having two eyes allows us to focus and get a depth perception. The way that we hear, our brain automatically thinks about the way in which the time it's taken, even if it's just a split second for a sound to hit one ear sooner than the other, or louder in one ear and softer in the other. Forked tongue is exactly the same principle. So the concentration of smell that they get, they can pick up the minutest difference on each side of that tongue. And essentially that allows them to see, if you imagine it as seeing the smells, it allows them to see the trail that is left and get a direction of that scent. So something that is unique to reptiles and really, really interesting. Just look at this. This is amazing. We've spoken about the fact that monitor lizards of both the rock and the water kind are very capable of moving both through water and through land. But Ellen was wondering, where would a water monitor lizard live in times when, especially when the pans and the dams and the water holes have dried up? And he's actually, I think he's, I thought he was going to come out, but he changed his mind. He's thinking about it. Oh, there's our first rumble of thunder. Isn't he beautiful in his own way? Ellen, they live in crevices of rocks, crevices of trees. They can live within termite mounds as well. The Kauri stops and sniffs each vegetation patch. There you can see that forked tongue at work. Long tongue. So they don't necessarily, they're not in any way reliant on the water in the same way the fishes are or crocodiles might be. They're equally capable of hunting on land, foraging through trees, eating birds' eggs or small birds. They're actually fairly ferocious predators. And in fact, a small crocodile, a newly hatched crocodile, would also be on the menu for these rock monitor lizards, or this water monitor. He's found a safe spot now. I don't think he's going to move too much further from there. He's hidden himself behind the bush. So that generally is where our different lizard species live. I must tell you, the atmosphere at the moment, this is what a true summer afternoon should really be like. There's this intense, almost electric feel to the air. The storm is advancing. And Janet, yes, to a certain extent, a crocodile is almost a type of lizard. And Janet, I'm going to answer that question, but I'm actually going to move off this dam wall while I do. It's very, very narrow perspective, so I'll answer as I drive along. Thank you very much, Rock Monitor, for that sighting. So, Janet, a crocodile, I said it is to an extent, it's not really. It is a completely separate species, and it is one of the oldest reptiles in the world, and is probably one of the closest relatives to the birds, funnily enough. As you know, birds and crocodiles share a common ancestor through the dinosaurs. So it is, you can sort of think about it as a type of lizard, but there's a lot of differences to it. I suppose it's related to lizards in the same way wild dogs are related to lions. They are actually fairly distinct species. We wouldn't call them a large species of lizard in the same way a Komodo dragon, for example, or indeed a rock monitor is a species of lizard or a type of lizard. As I said, closest relative to a crocodile, rather than being the other reptiles, is in fact a bird. And it is one of the oldest animals that has stayed unchanged for hundreds of thousands of years, since it evolved during the time of the dinosaurs. The other thing that sets it apart, a crocodile apart from the rest of the reptile family, is that it's capable of a bit more of internal control of its body temperature. So whilst it is still classified as an exotherm, and that it needs to go, for example, to bask in the sun, because it lives such an aquatic existence within those rivers and pools, it does need some degree, and also because it's a very large animal, it does need a certain degree of control of its body temperature. We tend to think of them as disappeared there for a second and completely lost my train of thought. Actually, I was about to tell you something very interesting about I was talking about the fact that we see them as primitive, but in fact their design was so perfect, the way in which they evolved was so perfect that it didn't need to change for the number of years that it's remained the same. My goodness gracious, I think at some point we need to start thinking about rain covers. This wind, rain covers, we're going to lose them. That's a very good point from Vim. Our rain covers are not going to watch us on. I'm more concerned about the lightning than I am about the rain. Although it hasn't started just yet, there's a yellow tinge to the sky. Beautiful, beautiful afternoon, very atmospheric. But definitely a little bit, there's an anticipation to it. Oh, well, we debate the pros and cons of our decision about rain cover.
So we're back in the area around Gallagher and Vuyatela, and we've just come across a nice little group of kudu. You can see a little male there with his little horn sticking out. Tiny two little babies about to come through. Hello, little fluff balls.
But we are going to look for a design that's just run south along the drainage, and we're just going to look around Lion and Tree Road.
Look at that.
Okay.
Hello, little ones. So, apparently the report we got that the Nkahumas were with the Birminghams was incorrect. So that has now led me to think that those impala that Lex heard alarming during the day might have seen the lions north of the lodge. So I've come back to this area and I'm giving it a good sort of second over. And I think the lions might be in there somewhere. But now I'm very happy these kudu happen to be where they are. So if they spot the lions, they'll give that alarm call and we should be able to hear it. It might be a bit difficult with this gusting wind. And there's a large storm approaching. I don't think it's going to rain just yet. I know Jamie wants to put rain covers on. I'm a little bit less worried. Let's have a look at it. I think it's still quite a distance away, but we'll see who's right. There it is, rolling in from the west. Well, on a positive note, if you're a lion or a leopard, tonight, if it's windy and rainy and dark, it's going to be a good night to catch something. So we're just checking along the fire break. These are one of these little tracks that don't get used too often. So I just want to make sure we haven't missed any tracks. A little bit. Now I saw the main road is just over there, but a lot of cars up and down the main Buffelshoek boundary. So we, on this hard ground, if we're going to get a glimpse at a track, it's possibly going to be here rather than there. Look at that. You see him? There's another chance to try listen. No, to the right. I think we're looking. Oh, did he move? Oh, he did.
Got him.
There we go. Woodlands kingfisher. So they're not going to be around for too much longer. They've definitely started slowing down on the calling. So they're going to be heading north in not too long. Trying to get some late evening insects to fill the belly before bed. I'm just checking very carefully, so I do apologize if I'm not having that much eye contact. I'm just checking for tracks. I've got to check extra carefully with this hard ground at the moment. Dawson Pittsburgh is commenting on the fact that I said sometimes I have to remove snakes from our house. And Dawson would like to know, ooh, how do the snakes get into my house? Well, Dawson, they just slither in. So unfortunately, with humans, we're quite messy creatures. So we attract things like rodents. So, and then their snakes are attracted by the mice and rats. Now, a very pretty flower. Very pretty flower for everyone. Let me try to find it quickly. Let me put that there. And unplug myself. This is one I've been wanting to show you. I have been asked about it before, or do we have any violets in Africa? And I just haven't been able to find a flowering one. I think I might have started a little bit late. So there we go. The wonderful, the exquisite African violet. Let me see if I can open it up so you can see it nicely there. And you can see these beautiful flowers. You got it there, Dave?
Yep.
There we go, the African violet. Very pretty plant. I've tried to grow them. Incredibly difficult to keep in captivity. Not really captivity, even in a flower pot. So I've tried to grow them a lot, but I've never had much success. They don't seem to survive. So I've given up, and I just like to look at them when I'm out in the bush now. And there we go. That might be, I think that's definitely the first time we've had a flowering African violet this year. Oh, this is turning into ideal lion hunting weather. I mean, just look at how the wind is swaying all these trees around. And Dreen, who's on Twitter, saying those poor Nkahuma girls, they never seem to get to finish a kill with those Birminghams around. So, and Dreen, I think there might have been a bit of broken telephone. I'm not sure whether the Nkahumas were at that kill. I'm thinking there might have been a miscommunication. I've got a feeling the Nkahumas are here, just north of the camp. So I'm double checking again. The last tracks I had of them this morning were heading towards this area. So that's why I'm going very slowly through here. Just hoping to not see a track this time, because the boundary is very close. So I'm hoping there's no track, and I'm going to loop back down towards the dam. So dam cam aficionados, keep an eye out. Ooh, if this storm comes, I think it's going to be a beastie. Now there's, apart from that storm coming from behind us, there's another big one building to the north of us. Oh. Fortunately, people are waterproof. Unfortunately, our equipment's not so much. So, nice to hear from Sibusiso in Hammanskraal again. Sibusiso would like to know how is the strength of animals measured? Because he finds it hard to believe that a hyena's got stronger jaws than those massive lions we saw in the beginning of the safari. I think they just do it on bite pressure on, I think it's pounds per square inch or kilograms per square inch. So they'll get the animal, normally a captive animal or whatnot, to bite into something that'll have a measure in it that'll measure the amount of bite it can bite. Now, but Sibusiso, what's that? No, not a lion. I don't think it's that difficult to believe that hyena's jaws are so powerful. And let's see if I've got that diagram here. Oh, sorry guys.
But I'm just sitting down there. I'd like to respond to that.
Oh, no. False alarm. So, Sibusiso, I haven't forgotten. I just want to see if I can find you a diagram here that is quite useful in explaining this. Oh, let me not put Dave in an awkward position because this road isn't very flush. We're driving around at an angle like this. We find a nice semi-flat spot. There we go, that's a bit better. And let me just check here quickly. I'm pretty sure I did have it here somewhere. And Dave's going to show you the sky in the meantime. Sorry, guys, I'll be with you in a second. I'm just trying to find... Oh, I don't know what I've done with the diagram. No, I think I've forgotten. I don't know where I put the lion diagram, but I do have the hyena diagram. So that'll be a good start in explaining why our hyena's jaws are much stronger. Let's make sure we've got the right hyena. And there we go. So here we have a diagram of a spotted hyena jaw. Or skull, sorry, not just the jaw. Now, the hyenas, this cranial crest here is much bigger in hyenas. So much bigger muscles and tendons are able to be attached to it that gives them this incredible power. Now, unfortunately, I've been a nana and misplaced my lion skull photograph. I will double check shortly if I've got it. But as you can see, also the way the teeth are structured. Lion's teeth, even though they are massive and robust, they're definitely not as wide. I mean, look at that. If you look at that compared to the whole size of the skull, how wide those crushing molars are at the back. And even the canines, they don't have that very sharp cutting edge on the back. They've almost got a crushing edge. So you can see there with this diagram that it's designed for that incredible power. I think it's about 900 or over, actually might be even over 1,000 pounds of pressure per square inch that a hyena is able to crush. Now, talking about hyenas, and while I've got the diagrams here, so you can see how into the brown hyena. And you can see they do have massive crushing jaws, but you can see that the cranial crest is a bit lower. They've got a much longer face. And I think there has been one brown hyena ever seen on the live drives, and I'm very jealous. I have seen them quite a few times where I live just outside Hoedspruit. But for those of you who don't know the difference between brown hyena and spotted hyena, there it is. There's the spotted hyena and the brown hyena. Very, very different. And then that's an aardwolf, which is part of the hyena family. Although he eats termites, the striped hyena, I don't have a photo of, is somewhere between those two. There we go. Hopefully that helps explain for you there, Sibusiso. I will remember to try to find that lion skull picture so you can see. Although it have an incredibly powerful jaw, it's designed for a different thing. The hyenas are designed to be able to crush those massive branches. I think, what was that? It's just, I heard some breaking branches in here. And the naughty elephant is around. I don't want him to catch me unawares, specifically not in this wind, so I'm just being a little bit extra careful. Gremlins and Jay.
Here we go, just in time to go through a very thick patch of mud. Here's a tip for all of you. If you ever find yourself in a safari vehicle, when you drive through a thick patch of mud like the one we just went through, don't, whatever you do, stick your head out over the side to then look for tracks. I cannot tell you how many times I've done that and come up with a face full of mud. I've also done it with buffalo dung before. The wheels spin them up. And you'll find with most vehicles our mud flaps don't last long in the bush. So the flaps that are meant to prevent that from happening are all but gone on these vehicles. And already I can still see mud flicking up out of the corner of my eye. That's definitely the last thing you want to do. Now the roads have all been dragged since this morning's drive. In other words, a tractor has gone past with a pile of tires and cleared them completely, which is both very helpful and not at the same time. So if there are any tracks at the Nkuhumas, they're very difficult to see on fresh and pristine road. But at the same time, if we do see any tracks, then we know that they are as fresh as can be. And what I really want to do, and you know, I think I was right, Liam. I think it's going to blow past completely. I wanted to show you the rain on the horizon. It seems as though the sun's coming back out, the skies are clearing. All that fuss and no rain. I'm very surprised. That wind was just, I think, a little bit too much for it. But we'll go and stop and have a look at the view anyway. Should be fine. I have also noticed how much the rain has caused the trees to grow into the road. Seeing more and more of them dangling in and finding myself having to dodge them, which is very positive. It means that the rain came in time, so it didn't quite hit right at the end of the growth season. I'm also seeing a lot of inflorescence of grass coming up. In other words, the fruiting part of the grass that produces the seeds. We didn't see much of that at all before the rains hit. Whoa, bee-eaters. It's like European bee-eaters. Possibly thinking about making their way back home. When they start to gather in flocks like this, it's usually a sign that the migration is due to start. They're battling the wind at the moment, changing direction constantly. And back in the same direction again. Oh, even more of them joining up now. Yep, that sounds like European bee-eaters on their way back home, or gathering to get to the point where they're going to be on their way back home. Feels a little early this year, probably again due to this drought. They haven't quite had the rich pickings that they were expecting in terms of insect life. We just go through to Impala Plains and we can stop and have a look at the view. And you guys can guess alongside with us as to whether or not you think it's going to rain and when it's going to rain. It's become something of a game for the staff of WildEarth, where we all sort of try and bet on whether or not it's going to rain and what time we think it's going to start. This is going to be an incredible view. Well, we have our first bet coming through from Jerry. Jerry thinks it's not going to rain at all. There's a lot of rain there on the horizon. Look at it, it's bucketing down all the way to the west of us. But whether or not that's going to get to us is a different question. I don't think so, funnily enough. I think this is all a storm in a teacup, at least on our side. Sorry, before we continue to discuss the weather, we just have to watch these poor ladies being chased by the impala rams. It's a little bit too early for them to start breeding, but nevertheless, the male's picking up on the increase in hormones. I don't know. I'm so undecided about this rain. What do you think, VM? Do you think it's going to rain?
It looks like it.
Certainly feels like it.
It changes every 2 minutes.
It does. It's howling.
I think it's a front.
You think it's a front? Jerry doesn't think it's going to rain at all. I'm not so certain. I think it might. It's just a question of how soon that rain's going to come through. I'm hedging my bets because once we put those rain covers on, there's a distinct possibility that VM and myself will convert into a hot air balloon and fly up into the sky, which might make for some interesting broadcasting material. Apparently, Alex and Louise both think it's going to rain in final control. This weather feels like it's going to rain. There's a very cool edge to the wind. I think VM's right, though. I think it might just be a front. Look at how thick and dark these clouds look. But then you get gaps like this, where it looks like another lovely autumn afternoon with a full moon. Almost full moon. Not quite. Almost. And Diane, you were wondering about, as the wind howls across Impala Plains, you were wondering about how far north, I'm not sure, I think that's a bit of a fruitless effort, how far north those European bee-eaters migrate. The answer is all the way up towards Europe. So what is that? That's about 1,000 odd kilometers, 1,000 odd miles that they will cover in their migratory path. Our impala doing all kinds of crazy things. Maybe the weather's unsettling them a little bit. Let's find out if Brent and nyala are behaving in a similar way.
So we had a nice big group of nyala right on the... Quickly. Ooh. So I was going to show you. I thought they might... Watch. Yep. Into the lodge. I think there's going to be a few to follow. Maybe because of this windy weather, might be a bit safer inside. And I think we're going to get a few more little hops across. So you can see all the animals are a little bit more nervous in this wind. Oh, hello, big boy. You take it at a standing start. There we go. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Dave is chuckling much better. As we drove up, there was one on the inside, and Dave was like, how did it get there? I said, well, we're about to find out. Oh, next jumper approaching the hurdle. And we should start scoring them. I think the last one was quite low. I think maybe a 6 or 7 out of 10. Let's see if these guys can do better. Younger, maybe a bit more sprightly. Oh, that's... And you can see how strong that wind is as their mane is being buffeted around. Come on, guys. Got stage fright now. Or maybe that's why they're not jumping. There's a little bit of a standoff happening. You can see the erect manes of those two bigger males. So this is how nyalas fight, to try avoid actual physical contact. Still thinking about the leap. They are very, very beautiful antelope with their long orange socks. It's quite nice. We've seen a big male through to these sub-adult males, and if we keep coming across and over there, that one, you can see a little male who's just starting to get a bit of color, and his horns are starting to develop. Linda on Twitter says it looks like they're thinking, should we jump? Shouldn't we jump? Are they watching us? Linda, I think it's probably more to do with the big males having the standoff behind them inside that might put them off. But I think once the rest of the group decide to jump, even these little females, so that's a young female leading the charge at the moment. And there's some Franklin running along the edge of the fence as well. Look like Natal Franklin. Oh, here we go, here we go. Time for the ladies to enter the hurdling competition. Now you can see the one coming there, that's an adult female. You see she's a bit bigger. Looks like she might have been shocked by the fence before, by her approach. And now, look at her. I think it almost looks like she might be listening to see if the fence is on, because she doesn't want to jump, she wants to climb under. Really interesting little bit of behavior going on here. Here we go. Now the ladies are quite capable of clearing the fence. They might have had, because there are some younger ones there, they might not want to. There are some ladies already on the inside. Let me just have a little snack first. Build up some stamina to make the leap or take the shock. Now, watching this reminds me of possibly one of the funniest things you can ever see, So on our family farm, we used to have a lot of warthogs. And before we turned it into only a game farm, we used to grow lucerne. And of course, to keep a lot of the animals out, we used to have a little electric fence that ran around the edge of the lucerne fields. And one animal we couldn't actually keep out of the lucerne fields were warthog. But they used to do the strangest thing. So what they used to do is they would walk up to this electric fence, a very small one, and they would start squealing before they touched it. So you would just get this week, 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 and then they would keep completely silent and run through the fence. So they would squeal before they got shocked, knowing that the shock was coming. And I literally, it was one of the funniest things you used to see. I remember just as kids watching it and watching these warthogs get themselves excited and start squealing, literally like they had a lion on their back, before being completely silent when they actually got shocked by the fence. Well, it looks like the nyalas have given up on that idea, so we'll move off. Oh, hard to believe it, the wind's actually got even stronger. I'll tighten my cap. Could get some quite spectacular views of the moon with this wind tonight, with the clouds being pushed at a rate of knots. There we go, look at that. Nearly, not quite full moon. So, if anyone popped off to get a snack or tasty beverage from the fridge and you missed the nyala leaping the fence, here's a little slow-mo clip for you guys to enjoy. Wasn't that fun? The leaping nyala. I scored that particular jump, I think 6 out of 10. I think he could have got a bit more height. Oh, we have a bird of prey. It looks like it might be eating something. Let's go have a closer look. You see him there, Dave?
Yeah.
Let's try and get a bit closer. Looking very windswept. I think it's probably a Wahlberg's eagle. But difficult in this half light. I'll have a better look when I'm a bit closer. Here we go. I think it's difficult to see. Wait for Dave to zoom in and lighten it up a bit. Yes, Wahlberg's eagle, and it finished whatever it was eating, but looking like it's just really trying to just hold balance in this wind at the moment. Pale morph Wahlberg's eagle. Oh, just listen to that. You could hear him call as well as he took off. There's another call. Oh, where's this thing now? See? Oh, there we go. So, look at that. Riding the wind waves. Yes, squirrel alarming. Very brave squirrel to be out in this wind. It's amazing. You just see as that gust catches them. There we go. Look at that, riding that wave at high speed. Wow, that was wonderful. Well done, Dave. Darlene in New Hampshire would like to know, do birds of prey show claws in their tracks? They most definitely do, but it won't be a very precise claw. Quite often you'll see the pad. Remember, those claws are curved, so you'll just see a little spot in front of where the foot was. Very sharp, quite deep little spot. So let's see if any animals have started to be sensible. The impala already are doing it. They're moving to the center of quarantine where they have a nice big vista if any predators happened upon them during the dark night. And some zebra as well. So quite common behavior, even on not too windier nights, is that the animals will move to a more open area, and there they should be able to spot potential predators a bit easier. And often you will find multiple species together like this, zebra and impala in this case, on the theory of more eyes to spot them, more ears to listen to them, more noses to smell them, and of course, if there's a lot of you, the odds are less chance you're the one that gets eaten. Darlene in New Hampshire, thanks for yet another question, Darlene. Darlene says they have moose around their lake, and she's been told that they can kick sideways to defend themselves. Do we have, quickly, we're going to run, let me just move the vehicle. It looks like all those impala are going to take off. Herd mentality and all that. So Darlene is wondering whether any of our hooved animals can kick sideways. I think actually most of them can. I know for a fact, which I know a lot of you might find quite surprising, one of the best sideways kickers is a giraffe. And they use that to defend themselves against lions. Hello, little one. That's a little boy. You can just see those tiny little horns starting to form. And here comes the rest of the herd about to run across. Oh, the zebras are even looking like they might join in. They're sort of stepping up towards the trot. Oh, but they stopped there. I thought they might be prompted by the impalas. Now, this is quite interesting. This is a little bachelor group of zebra. So all young stallions. Oh, male impala running through. Oh, male's chasing. There we go. Come here, lady. Not quite the right time yet, big boy, but your time is coming. I'm just going to move forward. Oh, it's still going. Just move forward slightly. So Jim can come past us. Nice, really big herd of impala. Definitely well over 50 here, maybe even 60, 70. So they'll feel safest in this really windy weather out on the open areas. Oh, I just saw some lightning, Dave. It was a bit closer than I thought the storm was. I just saw some lightning on the horizon there. We'll see when it comes. And of course, being out on one of these vehicles with the big antenna behind you, lightning is a little bit of a worry. Just going to go check on the other side. Who knows, maybe there's some more animals making their ways towards the safety of the quarantine clearings.
Go across the drainage line and check line 3. When you cross the drainage line,
Also going to try to see if we can find you some lightning. I think it's still a bit far away, but as it gets closer, we should be able to get some quite spectacular views, especially once it gets dark. Oh, it's getting a bit nippy as well. So, while we check what's happening on the western edge of quarantine, let's go see where Jamie is and what she might have found.
There is a gale blowing through the skies of Djuma, and the colors are truly ominous. It's quite incredible. It is beautiful in an awe-inspiring way. Very tumultuous weather. Unfortunately, what that means is that our hyena den is not active at the moment. There's no sign of any of the little individual, no little ears poking out from the holes, and no adults about either. So they've obviously decided that this is not the weather for them, and they have gone to ground. I did, however, on my way here, hear some elephants moving about the area. So we'll go and see if we can find those instead. Had to do a bit of a detour because our friendly ear-pierced elephant was somewhat in my way earlier, but I just turned around and went in the opposite direction. He's very much in full must right now, and a little bit uncomfortable with the idea of people viewing him. He doesn't mind people driving past him, it seems. It's just he doesn't like it when people stop to look at him. Ooh. I must say, brushing my hair this afternoon before going out on drive was a complete and utter waste of time. It is thoroughly windswept. Okie dokie. Sure, this color of the sky is quite terrifying. Although we are capable of staying out in rain, once lightning gets too bad for us, as you can imagine, with all of our electronic equipment on board, as well as a giant antenna that sticks up at the back, we prefer not to drive the vehicles around once the lightning storm gets bad. So there's a possibility, depending on how fearsome it becomes, there is a possibility that we may have to retreat and move under cover. Lightning is a very, very dangerous thing out here, not to be underestimated. South Africa is one of the highest lightning deaths in the world. It's something that I remember very vividly as a child being terrified of. Right, these elephants I heard were somewhere around here. Keep our eyes peeled for big dark shapes. They're also going to be incredibly unsettled with this wind billowing about them. Bethany tells me that there is a 70% chance of rain at 6 o'clock on our side and 100% chance of rain at 7. Bethany, it's getting darker and darker. I think we might just fall into the 70% margin between now and 7 before it hits the 100%. I know that Brent is on quarantine. He's lurking about there, just in case he needs to make a rapid retreat. I'm also heading down that direction, getting a bit closer to home, just in case the skies do open or the heavens do open, and it really feels like it now. Quite mesmerizing, also quite scary in its own way. Where are these elephants? Now, generally, elephants don't like lightning either. I had this amazing sighting once where I was sitting in a lodge oh, hello. I hear you.
Right in front of us.
Oh, I see you. Thank you, Viam. That's embarrassing. That's a bit awkward. Talking about being able to hear an elephant and it's standing right there. I'm going to give them plenty of space. The wind is going to make them unhappy, as will the storm. We spend some time wallowing in the mud. It could be the same herd. I'm not sure exactly where Brent had his herd of elephants, but by the sound of things, they weren't terribly relaxed either. So we'll just shuffle forward nice and slowly. Hello, little one. But I was talking about this lodge that I was staying at. It was one that my work very kindly allowed us to visit. And my parents, friends, and family could stay there for free. And it was right on the Makutsu River, which is an absolutely beautiful setting. Wow. This is also beautiful. Hello, ellies. Hi, guys. Lots of trumpeting, lots of noise. There's a very tiny little calf. Just watching their body language carefully. Elephants don't like this sort of weather. Now, this particular sighting I was describing, there was a whole herd of elephants. It was Cheeky's herd. We knew each of our elephant herds by name. It was Cheeky's herd feeding in the river below us. Cheeky was very much known as Cheeky for a reason. Oh, sorry, Cheeky was wearing the collar. It was Queenie's herd. That's who it was. And one second they were happily munching about in the river. The next, there was this low, deep contact call between the females. And as one, these elephants sprinted, and I mean sprinted, full tilt out of the river and up the bank and away into the bushes. And as that happened, as they got there, there was this enormous clap of thunder. It was just a sort of a normal flat grey day. It didn't look like there were going to be storms. No cumulus cloud build up. And yet those elephants absolutely knew that there was a storm on the way and that there was a lightning strike about to happen. They are far better at predicting the different weather conditions than we are. Curious One tells me that as a child she loved lightning because if it struck close enough, it would make their phone ring. I like that, Curious One. That's a lovely story. Usually whenever it hit around our house in Johannesburg, it either took out our internet modem, our phone line, and our pool motor. Very often it was the pool motor. I think we've replaced about 3. Well, my parents have replaced. Appreciation. I think the weather also playing a bit of havoc with our signal.
Just to the north of the camp. It could be time for that whatever those impalas spotted an alarm call before the safari to get up and get moving. So let's go have a look. There's my spotlight gone now. It's around here somewhere. Oh, there it is. Oh, before I forget, Jamie did ask me to show you guys something earlier, the difference between a water monitor and a rock monitor. There we go. That is a rock monitor, so it doesn't really stay too much in and around water. They like to sleep in hollow trees. You can see very grey, very robust head. Very particular here. You can see how robust the head is. Now, above is a very monitor-esque pose. So both water and rock monitors will lie on tree branches like that. Just the water monitor will do it near water or generally above water, and when threatened, they'll drop into the water. Now, you can see the color difference. There is a water monitor, and you can see the head's not nearly as robust.
Mike, what is what?
So there we go.
I was gonna come here for Pooza, but
Okay. There we go. Before I forget now, we're going to head towards the northern side of the Djuma Dam. Oh, Taxon, you're talking very loudly. And let me just get my spotlight out. There it is. And I'm not sure what's there. I think with that miscommunication, I think the Nkuhumas might have been around here all day. But with the misinformation, we went searching in the wrong places. Hello, Naomi in Pretoria. Naomi says she's a little bit confused about impalas. When they leave scent on a branch, is it with that little gland on their face near their eyes, or is it with those black dots on the back of their legs? So both of those do leave scent, but when they're doing it on a branch, it is with the gland on their face. So those ones on their legs are called metatarsal glands, and what those are for is a hotly debated thing. Some people think they release a sort of pheromone when they're chased, and they kick out their legs, especially when they're being chased by a predator. So some people think it's to confuse the predators. I don't think so. I think that's really pushing it a little bit. The more logical explanation is actually it's for the impalas to actually group together again after they have been chased. So they've been chased heavily by something like wild dogs. They're able to form into a herd again quite quickly. So there's the two difference on those glands that the impala use. And oh yes, in this, Dave and I saw something while it was still light, but we thought it would be extra cool to show it to you in the dark. So before we go in search of possible predators, let's go look at one of the smaller inhabitants of the Djuma family. Unfortunately, tonight is not going to be good for owls and frogs in this weather. James Richard would like to know whether giraffe bend down during lightning storms or just stay in thick bush. You would imagine they would like to avoid open areas. I would imagine so, James. Normally they will actually lie down during big storms. Now let's see if we can find this little critter that we spotted in this beautiful clear pan or clear puddle. So last night we had a crab in the... I'm just gonna get myself into a position where I can... Here he is. You got him, Dave? Look at that. So we're hoping to see him swimming under the water at night after that crab was so You see where the stick is? Up. Where's he gone now? There he is. So he is under the water, but he's not swimming. There he is. He's swimming. Off he goes. Isn't that incredible? A little terrapin. So this is what we saw when it was light, and we thought it would actually be much nicer to see him in the dark. And now even he knows this wind's not good. So you can see he almost looks like he's trying to get under the algae to have a bit of somewhere to hide. Oh, there he pops up for a breath, but with most of his body under the blue-green algae on top. Very cool little guy. That guy's probably not even an inch long. Okay, well, let's leave him to his... Oh, he's gone under the water. He's swimming again. He's swimming. Sorry, Dave, that was my fault. I thought at the last second. Where's he gone? He's gone under the bigger piece of algae. Okay, well, let's leave him be. Tiny, he's probably about that big. Wow, this is great cat hunting weather. Dark skies, gusting winds. I wouldn't want to be an impala, zebra, buffalo, steenbok, duiker, wildebeest, kudu, nyala, bushbuck. Am I forgetting anything? Maybe, maybe not. Tonight, it's going to be a sleepless, high nerve night tonight. Oh, I forgot giraffe. Thank you, Final Control. So, also on, as I said, these nights, we're not going to hear many frogs. We might catch some of the bigger owl species, but the smaller owl species will be quite scarce. We might still get some ground beetles scurrying about. Formidable little guys. So they're not too worried about being eaten. Apart from their massive jaws they have to defend themselves, they have the ability to spray formic acid out of their mouth. So not much wants to eat something that's as nasty as that. So Dennis in Michigan says he knows I like photographing animals, but is there a particular favorite species that I like to photograph? He says if he lived in Africa, he would never get tired of photographing the wildlife, and his favorite to take photos of is zebra. So Dennis, that's actually quite a good question. I'm gonna have to think about it a little bit. I would say possibly one of my favorite things to take photographs of is elephants. Now, that being said, it's because to get a really great elephant photograph can be quite difficult. The big grey lumps that take a lot of the light away, so to get detail, and you can get really nice close-ups of skin and eyelashes and stuff, but to get a really epic elephant photograph can be quite a challenge. And of course, the big cats is always wonderful. But I do also like my macro photography. So all the little bugs and haws and things always provide an interesting challenge. But yes, Dennis, there is literally a never-ending supply of subject matter while living out here. Shannon in Ohio and says, this may be a stupid question, but do we get roses growing out here? No such thing as a stupid question, Shannon. So don't fear. Shannon, we do not. There are roses growing in people's gardens, but they are not indigenous to Southern Africa. At least I'm not sure if there are any. I definitely know East Africa, Central Africa, but I'm not sure whether there are any indigenous to North Africa. I don't think so, though. I don't think there are any rose species indigenous to Africa. Come on, kitty cats, where are you hiding? All the little small nocturnal mammals, they also don't like this weather. So you'll find unlikely to see any bush babies, night jars, well that's not a mammal, but genets, civets, all those type of things will stay hunkered down when this really strong wind is about. Of course, it affects their hearing and smell just as much as it would anything else. The only guys who like it are the truly big hairies and scaries. So your lion, leopard, hyena in this case. Ellen in Arkansas would like to know, where do elephants go in a storm? Well, they generally just will hunker down sometimes wherever they might be. They might even just continue to feed during the storm. It doesn't really affect them too much. Breeding herds with young babies might like to get to until the wind stops. They don't like gusting wind, but other than that, they're pretty unaffected by the storms, particularly the big bulls. So we've got a new viewer, a huge Safari Live welcome to James, who's found us on YouTube. James says, this is so cool. I agree, James, very, very cool. James would like to know, are there directors guiding the streams and representing, and what goes on? So, of course, mostly you just see myself or Jamie or James in front of the camera, but we, of course, have a crew of cameramen. We have directors that sit in final control, and what they've got is a whole multiple bunch of screens, and there will be all the feeds that are out. So today there are only 2 feeds, so they'll be able to see what I'm seeing and what Jamie's seeing and decide whether they should stay with the one vehicle or go to the other. And also that gives us the best way of showing you as many animals as possible and covering the most distance as possible. And then we also have a tech department. They look after the stream and stuff. The directors keep an eye on it, but when it decides to play up, ooh, some lightning, or the gremlins invade it, the tech guys are on it. So it is a really exciting thing, and there are quite a few people behind the scenes to bring you these live safari drives. No luck with those lions so far, or leopard, not sure. There's definitely something that upset the impala in this area, so always worth a gander. I'm pretty sure if the lions were here, or are here, they're on the move already, on the hunt. Oh, excuse me, I have got a visitor down my shirt. Some form of khoho. There we go, ho out. So we're going to keep checking and looping this area. While we do that, let's go see if Jamie's got anything.
The wind is howling out here. I'm checking up to see whether the Nkuhumas have decided to take advantage of this crazy weather that we're experiencing to head out and go hunting. I smell I smell burning. Hold on 1 second. Everything okay back there, Vian? I don't know if it's the headlight, maybe. Let me just check it quickly. That's not something you want to smell as you're driving along. It seems okay now, though. I can't smell it. Should be okay. See how we go. Definitely didn't imagine that, though. But yes, this is ideal hunting weather for the big cats. The impala on quarantine are all, the poor things are clustered together in a group, obviously clearly terrified for the night ahead. Apparently Brent's also been observing the exact same behavior. This weather is incredible. And it clears, every now and again there's just this perfect open, clear patch of sky. With the moon shining. I'm actually going to stop for this view, it's incredible. Wow. Beautiful. It'll be full moon tomorrow by the looks of things. We had a long chat yesterday about just how important that is as a celestial body in terms of maintaining the Earth's rotation without it spinning out of control and wobbling. And then Jupiter, a bright planet that you can see next to it. That bright star. Difference between stars and planets, if you're looking up into the night sky. Stars twinkle, planets do not. Because planets are reflecting the light from the sun rather than producing their own. So much closer to us, which is why they seem so bright. As far as that, yeah, it is Jupiter. It's definitely Jupiter that's up next to the moon at this particular time of evening. As the moon starts to get full, Safari Dean, yes, we do notice a change to the animal's behavior during a full moon. You quite often get diurnal predators hunting or staying active for much longer if the moon has risen, because it provides so much light. It's almost like, you could actually, even as a human being, even with our very poor night vision, we could still walk around at night. We probably wouldn't want to, I wouldn't advise it, but we could if we absolutely have to. So the diurnal predators tend to move around a lot, or a lot more at least. The nocturnal predators don't have as easy a time in hunting. They're much easier to spot when they're illuminated by the light of the moon. But other than that, I don't notice any behavior in terms of the animals acting strange or crazy. I know that there are certain beliefs that a full moon causes people to act very strangely as well. Hasn't been the case in my experience with animals. They don't seem terribly bothered by it. They're far more interested in the fact that there is, for example, as there is tonight, a storm brewing that is out to get them. Everybody watch heads. Here we go. But we'll be able to watch and observe, and of course that's half the excitement of as night falls, is wondering what you're going to find, what the morning is going to bring in terms of animal movements. Will the Nkuhumas decide to pop out? Will they be able to make a kill? And I wonder as well whether or not the Birmingham boys might have finished that buffalo by tomorrow morning. Between 5 big male lions, it's definitely a meal that they could complete in a much shorter period of time than, for example, say the Nkuhumas might do. I think that it's safe to say They will be moving again fairly shortly. I was very taken aback by how thin that one male looked. And Raisa, you were saying that Scrapper must have been sick for quite a long time to be looking like that. And surely just 1 or 2 weeks of not eating would not have produced such a drastic drop in his condition. Raisa, I think it's probably about, I have heard rumors that he was injured, and I heard those rumors since I've come back to work, which is about, how long ago was that? I've lost track already. It must be about 2 weeks now. So I did start to hear rumors then that he was injured, but obviously we couldn't confirm it, so it's something that we didn't touch on terribly often. But I think it could well be about 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks work of an injury. Not able to fight back, probably spending a lot of time just resting and recovering. I saw Scrapper just before I went on leave. In fact, just before Brent and myself went on leave at Cheetah Plains at 3 in a row pan, and he definitely didn't look anything like that. I'm not sure what has happened to him, if it was an injury or if it was some kind of an illness. But it is nice to see, however, that he is, as thin as he looks, he will be getting better. Oh, Brent's found something interesting in the road to show you. Let's go and have a look at one of our nocturnal creatures.
So let's have a look. We found an adult antlion that was fighting with the wind, flapping about, and then just landed on the road in front of us. Now, you can even see how this large insects are reflecting in my headlights. Oh, next gust of wind. Let's maybe try to get a little bit closer. The insect. Still there, Dave? You got him? I'll move the light for you now. Oh, look at that. Is that a big one? There you go. Now, they have a very short lifespan. So more than often you find them dead. After they've finished mating, they just expire. I want to see, maybe I might be able to maybe grab this one, hopefully. I think it has already mated. I think it might be in that expiry phase. Oh, not so much in the expiry phase. Oh! Off it went. Well, it was worth a try. Beautiful creature. It's amazing those the larval stage live under the ground and form those tiny little tunnels to catch ants. So we're doing a slightly wider loop around the same area that we were looking for the lions earlier. Our bed says, cool, a lion sighting. Yes, member of the little five. So everyone knows the big five, the elephant, buffalo, ooh, raindrop, rhino, lion and leopard. And the little five are small creatures that share a part of, or share part of their name will make up a member of the big five. So we have the antlion, of course. Billed buffalo weaver. We saw a swimming crab while we were in search of frogs yesterday. And tonight we've got a swimming terrapin. Another one. So, speaking, his cousin is also a part of that. Oh, look at he's feeding. I wonder what he's eating down there. Is it tadpoles? Is it larvae of, I think it's mosquito larvae. Oh, isn't that fascinating? Slightly bigger. So Linda is wondering why the water looks so red. So just let's lean over. And you can see his little legs paddling away there. And he's going down into the depths. We've lost him. So Linda is wondering why the water looks so red. Just checking for frogs, even though in this wind it's unlikely we're going to spot one. Linda, it's from the stain from the plants. So a lot of water, if you look at the Okavango Delta, I'm pretty sure you'll find parts of the US where that reddish thing, it's the stain from the tannins and all the plants that wash down into the river. So we used to have a joke when I lived up in Botswana, because that water is particularly reddish, and it is very good water. It goes through one of the best and biggest natural filter systems in the whole world, the Okavango Delta. There's another antlion. I think he's very highly mobile. Oh, there he goes. Shoop. Oh, all over the place. But, sorry, Dave, oh, he's coming back. Now that is some seriously good camera work. Well done, Dave. Not easy to try to follow that. Sorry, Linda, back to your question. And we used to call that particular water, because there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. It's very 100% to drink. We used to call it Okavango tea or Kwando tea, depending on the Kwando River or the Okavango River. But it didn't matter. A lot of our guests who came to visit, didn't matter how much we tried to explain to them that this water was perfectly fine. Actually tasted quite yummy, in my opinion. But that slight reddish tinge put them off it, so they would stick to bottled water. But I would definitely drink Kwando water over any of the bottled water brands any day of the year. Now, very interesting thing about bottled water is that the amount of plastic that is created and gets washed up all over the world by bottled water. When most cities, the tap water is of better quality and has less funny things in it than a lot of bottled water. What have we got here? What have we got? I see an eye, I see an eye. And I feel a raindrop, but I see an eye. Where'd that eye go? I think it is a brave bush baby. That's exactly what it is. Where'd he go? There he is. You got him, Dave? There, right in the light. A brave bush baby. He jumped again. Oh, sneaky. No, there he is. I think I just need to, you're in the wrong spot. Oh, there he is now. Getting ready for a big jump. Getting ready for a big jump. You got him, Dave?
Don't.
There. So he's at the back. Behind this. Let me just try it. There. Here we go. Hello, little South African bush baby or South African galego. He must be hungry to be out in this wind. Unusual. They are so cute. And jumping could be quite risky because the branch you're jumping to might move. Yes, maybe go lower. Don't want to plummet. Whoa, big jump. I can't see where he went. He just moved. There's a tree in our way. Oh, I've lost him. They are so quick. Oh, he's gone right to the back there. Oh, and he's gone again. He's gone. Okay, well, lovely little bush baby sighting. I didn't think we were going to get one. I think I might be reconsidering my plan and my life choices at the moment, as we're starting to get quite a few drops, and the tempest seems to be about to arrive, so I'm going to start driving a little bit faster. So we've got a comment from Nicola Austin, who, for those who are not sure, was one of our directors. She's sending her love. Her and Scott are watching all of us out here from Cape Town with Uncle Phil, and they say, we miss you guys too. Hopefully you'll come back for a visit in not too long. And they all said it's looking so green compared to when they're here. Yes, it has bucketed down slightly over the last while, and I have the feeling that it might bucket down again shortly. So I'm definitely changing my life choice. I'm not going to go on the long meandering route back towards camp. I think I might take the shorter route just in case. So a huge Safari Live welcome to Martin, who's a new viewer. So welcome to the Safari Live family, Martin. Martin would like to know where exactly we are, and does this happen every day? Does it happen in the same place? Is it in Kruger or a private game reserve? So Martin, we're in the Greater Kruger National Park. So we're in a private reserve where there is no fences between here and Kruger. It is called Juma Private Game Reserve. We traverse over two different areas, Juma and Arathusa Private Game Reserves. And yes, it happens every day from the same area. And there's a couple of presenters, and we do our best to show you the wonders of the wild on a daily basis. Sorry, I was a bit distracted there as a raindrop hit me in the eye. So Martin, and I see you've worked out how to ask questions already, so I don't need to let you know how to do that. But if anyone is watching and not sure how to ask us a question about what's happening on drive, about the animals we see, or about something you might have experienced on one of your African safaris, or even for a bit of advice on where you would on safari, please feel free to contact us. You can drop us an email on questions@wildearth.tv, or you can use the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, as Martin just has. What have we got up there in the road? Oh, it's a kudu. Okay, so there's still a good chance that those impala ladies might pop up anywhere around here. Hopefully before the end of the sunset safari. Otherwise, I'll have to put my tracking shoes on again tomorrow morning and see if we can find them then. But we have had some really enjoyable stuff this evening. That amazing elephant sighting we had, and Jamie and the Birmingham boys all eating a buffalo for dinner tonight. Queen Karula continues to evade us. I'm not sure where she disappeared to, but she doesn't like to disappear, we do know that. She is an expert at zigzagging away, so it makes her very difficult to track. But it is always a special treat when you do get to find her. And I am looking forward to the next couple of months and all the cubs around. So far, Karula's got 2. No idea how many shadows got just yet. And it'll be very exciting times when those cubs get old enough for us to view them.
That young male is behind now.
Oh, look at this! Look at this wind!
Oh, okay. Look at that thing. How are you doing? It's fine.
Big storm.
Looks very nice, yes. Okay. Relax. Okay.
It is almost eerie when you see the wind fluttering through these leaves in the dark sky. James Richard says, been holding thumbs for a leopard this evening, being ages since we've seen one. Well, James, unfortunately, Jean and I did see one yesterday, but we couldn't get any signal there, so I do apologize again for that. Ooh, suicidal scrub here, no, it escaped. But we will definitely do our best to find you one, probably tomorrow. I will definitely get my tracking shoes out. Jamie seems to have the tracking of lions all covered, seems to just find them all over the place, so maybe I'll focus on leopard tomorrow. Not that I did it this morning. I mean, we tracked those male tracks for a very long time, and unfortunately he did cross out into Torchwood. So just an update on that. So it was definitely Tingana. They didn't see the other male leopard he chased, but so we're all going to have to just wonder, was it Mvula? Was it Quarantine? Was it Kunuma? Was it a leopard? We don't know. Come on, lions, pop out. I think the rain is going to be kind and only descend upon us after the end of the safari. Hopefully it stays away for the sunrise safari. So it's more than welcome to rain before and after the safaris, just preferably not during. So it's going to be interesting to see how long it takes 5 Birmingham boys to scoff a buffalo. I say they'll be finished by tomorrow evening. Who knows? Let's see if I'm right or wrong. I think 5 male lions, they've got a seriously healthy appetite. And hopefully tomorrow we will find that leopard, James Richard. Oh, Jamie thinks that might be done by tomorrow morning, so obviously those Birmingham boys were hungry. And hopefully we're able to find that leopard for you guys out there tomorrow. Other than that, we shall probably continue to do wildflowers. We've got a wild violet today. I was very excited about that. Don't know about you guys. And hopefully if the wind's not gusting, we can start building on those frog lists again. And it will be fascinating. So we'll definitely try to spend some time around the pans after dark, let you listen to the amazing chorus of the frogs. As I said tonight, not ideal. Oh, raindrops coming a little bit more regularly, but from Dangerous Dave and myself, it's been a pleasure having you on the back of the vehicle. Don't forget to join us for tomorrow's sunrise safari. And let's go see what Jamie's up to for the last few minutes of drive.
Jamie is circling around Quarantine, just making sure that I'm close enough to make a mad dash for cover once the rain starts. I have had a couple of drops falling on my head. So it is coming, and the wind howling. Just been smacked in the dung beetle by the eye as well, which is one of those things about driving around at night. And with this wind howling like it is, there's dust and all kinds of things blowing around us. Very almost ominous weather that we've been experiencing. Hello, Nikki. Nikki Austin is watching our show along with Spot, and she sent a big hello to all of us and saying that she can't believe how green Djuma is. Nikki and Scott, hi everybody. The grass is long, Juma is green, there's puddles all over the place, there's frogs about. It really is completely different to when you left. I'm just thinking about our last fireside chat, where we sat in the middle of quarantine and there was not a blade of grass to be seen, just a couple of perennial plants, and that was about it. Now there's fresh layers of grass everywhere. Elephants still paying a visit though to Inga's. We've got a new fence and everything. We'll wait and see whether Brent or myself's prediction about the Birmingham boys and their buffalo, which one of us proves to be correct. I think probably they'll be finished by at least tomorrow afternoon. I think they might move on. As for this rain, well, that's a completely different issue. I wanted to show you. I think I saw a twin spot ground beetle. Let's just try and find out where it went. There he is. Dashing about. Very active little hunters, these guys. Oh. He'll be searching for possible prey. Now that yellow, an immediate warning that this little creature is quite capable of shooting out an acid substance that causes enormous blisters on people. This is not a blister beetle. This looks like either a twin spot ground beetle. Oh, there's a solifuge as well. Look at the solifuge. Where'd he go? He ran away. Solifuge, or a red Roman, as they're sometimes known. They look scary. They look terrifying, but they're not. They're very, very rapid moving creatures. They're nocturnal. They run about hunting. They're arachnids, but not part of the spider family, so not quite directly related to spiders. And this beetle twitching his antenna, looking to see if he can locate anything. A whole range of things to look forward to for tomorrow's sunrise safari. If it pours with rain tonight, all kinds of insect species will be out. The birds will be rejoicing. Now, it seems as though the rain is starting to a little bit. It seems to be getting a bit harder now. I've had quite a few drops on my face and I don't have any rain covers on the vehicle. So for now, I'm actually going to just say a big thank you to VM for all of his wonderful camera work. Make sure I dodge the beetle. We're going to start racing across for home, but as I said, exciting prospects for tomorrow morning's sunrise safari. Thank you to Jerry and Louise in Final Control, and most importantly, a big thank you to all of our viewers, our wonderful, wonderful viewers, for your loyalty, your questions and your comments. And I hope that you have a wonderful day or a wonderful evening, depending on wherever you are in the world. Fingers crossed for rain, and we'll find out tomorrow how it goes. Bye-bye, everybody. Cheers for now.